It is going to test you for the playoffs, for the nitty-gritty of December, January. You're going to get everybody's best shot. And I think that's why Jalen Hurts doesn't care about 5-0. I think this is why they're trying to stay grounded. Okay, we are back being turned to shields here on Good Morning NFC East. Still waiting for Georgia Joel's. He might have overslept. I think he's on Central Time too. That's one of the tough things when you get these. When you're on at 7:20 in the morning, I'll tell you what, Tony, I'm the same way, man. There are some times where I wake up and I'm just like, wait a minute, what time is it? And we got to go do this. But hey, man, we're grinding. If it's just me and you today, it's just you and me.
Yeah, absolutely. You know I love working with you, Jeff. So I have a question for you, though. I've been thinking about the way the Philadelphia Eagles have been going about their business, right? They have more rushing touchdowns than passing touchdowns. And some people, that's a concern for them. Some people, it's not. Some people say, look, he needs to show, or Jalen Hurts needs to show that he can score with his arm as well, not just move the ball. Fair enough. Some people say, well, doesn't make a difference. Points are points. A rushing touchdown counts the same as a passing touchdown. So I'm curious to know, do you have any concerns about the overall production of the red zone offense, or from the opponent's 35-yard line or closer to the end zone? Because it seems like they're having opportunities to get the ball in the end zone in the air, but it's either come back due to lack of execution, penalties, or whatever it may be. So are you concerned, not necessarily about the passing attack of the Philadelphia Eagles, but more so the passing production, the scoring, the lack of passing touchdowns? 5 games in, only 4 passing touchdowns. Does that concern you in any way?
No, because they're getting in the end zone. They do have the most rushing touchdowns in the league too. We can't ignore that. 12 rushing touchdowns through 5 weeks? I think people like to find ways to nitpick when, and it's not like everything's perfect here. It's not, but this team does score points. They do get yards. I mean, they had a season low in points on Sunday, a season low in yards.
And it was only like 350, like 360. That's still a good game.
Exactly. And they still came away with the W. So, yeah, should they have scored more on Sunday? Yeah, I think so. I think they left opportunities on the table for sure. Everybody wants to get on the whole screen pass thing, but I think that was a way to attack the Cardinals defense. It was high volume passing and see if you can get guys to miss. I just thought it was weird, AJ Brown gets targeted 3 times, 32 yards. First drive, you're like, oh, wow, this is going to be an AJ Brown day. And then you just don't see him the rest of the day. To me, I just feel like there's one football and there's too many weapons. Like, I had someone ask me, where's Quez Watkins at? I'm like, well, why are you in that? He's the fourth option, essentially. I could say that with Zach Pascal. Where's Zach Pascal at? It's the same thing. To me, it's tough, right? Because you want to see them score every single time they're in the red zone. You want to see them score every single time they get past the 50. And it's just not realistic. And I don't really care how many rushing touchdowns Jalen Hurts had. To me, Jalen Hurts is 10 touchdowns on the year. 4 passing, 6 rushing. That's his game. He's never, to me anyway, he's never going to be a 40 touchdown passer. He just isn't. That's not his game. But he can combine for 40. It's just a different mindset, I guess. Like, someone told me last night Travis Kelce was overrated. I believe was the term. I saw one of the Twitter minions. And I almost said back, you do realize Travis Kelce has as many touchdowns tonight as Jalen Hurts has passing this season. And that's not a knock on Jalen Hurts. I'm just trying to put in perspective here.
Right. What
Travis Kelce is doing. And I don't know, Tone. I just think sometimes we could be a little too nitpicky, and that's everything. Like, the Detroit Lions had averaged 35 points per game going into Sunday, and everybody's like, well, they're not doing enough. I'm like, well, no, their offense is, their defense isn't. And finally, their offense caught up with them.
Yeah, you said something. It's interesting. I don't really believe in the whole notion of there's one football, there's too many weapons in football. At least I don't believe in that. That maybe in my opinion, that metaphor, that analogy makes more sense in basketball. But in football, there's so many ebbs and flows to the game, and there's so many different moving parts, and there's intense game plans involved, and sometimes players get eliminated from the game. Like there are so many variables, and I just don't believe in the notion of you can have too many weapons, because the more threats that you have on the field to make something happen, the more lethal your offense can be. As long as everyone mentally and emotionally is on the same page and no one has immense egos, I feel like there's no such thing as there's only one football. There's two. You can never have too many weapons in football. I think about the Rams last year when they went and got OBJ. You know what I mean? Granted, they lost Robert Woods, but still they didn't. They could have tried to rock out with what they had with Van Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, and those guys, but they said no. We're going. We're trying to make a run. We're trying to go for it. We're trying to go into the playoffs with not just an arsenal, with not just one weapon or two weapons. We're trying to go in with a full arsenal. I'm trying to go into the playoffs with the biggest gun. And I can't get mad at teams for wanting to give their organization the best possible chance of succeeding by adding more weapons. So I just don't I don't really think that. And a guy like Quez Watkins, like Pascal, like you said, fourth, fifth options, they're not going to. Those guys are going to get in where they fit in. I'm not concerned about Quez Watkins' numbers. I'm not concerned about Zach Pascal's numbers. The guys I'm concerned about is Goddard, Smith, and Brown. And all three of those guys are trending towards 1,000 yards on the season. So, you can make an argument either way, but I don't think this team has a problem spreading the wealth.
Yeah. See, this is where this is one football. There's only one football comes in. When Jalen Hurts starts force feeding the ball to A.J. Brown or Devonta Smith or whoever, for whatever reason, that's when the mistakes occur. Because that's how Matthew Stafford used to get in trouble with Calvin Johnson. He's just like, okay, you're the best receiver on the planet. I'm just going to try to give you the ball at every single time. Well, that's how interceptions are made. That's how fumbles are forced, because you're looking for a specific player. And I'm going to translate this to basketball, being a basketball coach. I tell kids all the time, guys, I know you can score every single time, but we got to move the ball around. Because if we don't, the offense is just going to be stagnant. And then when someone does get the ball, and then you say, well, I passed it. Well, guess what? They're not ready for it, because they think you're going to make 50 million dribbles to score when the offense is going for a box of one, something like that. To me, that's where there's only one football. I think that's why Cooper Rush is playing so well, to be honest with you. He's not forcing the ball, at least throwing the football. He's not forcing it to anybody. Like, he's giving it to Noah Brown. He's giving it to I almost said Amari Cooper. He's not on the Cowboys anymore. Michael Gallup, guys like that. He's spreading the wealth. And I got to bring this up since it is Tuesday. It is Dallas week. It's officially Dallas week now. So,
oh, yeah.
If Dak Prescott, Jerry Jones is going to speak today. If Dak Prescott can grip this football, and if he doesn't have the velocity, I think he's going to have. I don't think Dak's going to play Sunday. Right now.
Neither do I, if I'm being honest. I don't think he's going to play either.
Yeah. But if he can grip this football, if he can throw it, do you play him?
Would I play him? No. But would Jerry do that? Oh, absolutely. Jerry has that kind of ego. I'm paying this guy. He's the number one guy. Hey, if they clear you, then you're cleared. And that's going to be a real hard game for Dak Prescott to come back to. If I'm the Cowboys, I let Cooper Rush go out there, do his thing for another week, and then I throw Dak back out there the following week, to play those tune-up games against the Detroit Lions and Chicago Bears. You know what I mean? Those are pretty good games for him to get back into the swing. But if he goes out there, rusty, dealing with a hand injury still, oh, yeah, it's going to be a bad day at the office.
Yeah. See, this is why I would play him. Because I don't know if you can beat Philadelphia with Cooper Rush. Because I thought the Rams exposed him a bit on Sunday. He was only 10 for 16 for 107 yards. He fumbled the football twice. He was lucky his team recovered him. Cooper Rush looked like a backup quarterback Sunday. The Cowboys did not win because of Cooper Rush. They won because their defensive line was that much better than the Rams' offensive line, and their secondary is really good. Their defense overall is just really good. I will say this flat out. The Dallas Cowboys better find a way to score 20 points on Sunday. And I think Dak Prescott gives them the best chance to do that. Because if not, I don't care what the Eagles offense does. I think they're going to struggle at times against this defense. I still think the Eagles offense is good enough to get 20.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And, ultimately you are right. You are better with your number one quarterback than you are with your number two quarterback. You should be better, right? But there are but that would make sense, I guess, if we were dealing with a healthy Dak Prescott or as healthy as he could possibly be. But I don't know, man. I just if they throw him out there in that game, in that environment, it just doesn't smell right to me for him. It doesn't seem like a good situation for him to come back to. Look, man, I'll keep it real with you, Jeff. I don't care who's out there snapping the ball. I don't care if it's Cooper Rush. I don't care if it's Big Time Rush. I don't care if it's Brandon Rush. Listen, like whoever it is, they're going to catch these hands like anybody else. So I'm just excited for the game, man. I'm so locked in. I've circled this game on my calendar. I've been looking forward to this game ever since the season ended last year because I didn't like the way it went down. We got embarrassed one too many times. Jalen Hurts looked like he didn't belong out there. The team just didn't look prepared. Nick Sirianni got out coached. It was a bad day at the office for everybody. But this is a new team. This is a new look team. This is a team that has a year under their belt. Within this system, and I expect bigger and better things. The Philadelphia Eagles they have enough weapons. They have enough guys on defense to be able to go toe to toe with the Cowboys. They have the offensive line. There's no time like the present. You have to stake your claim in this division. You have an opportunity to take a game and a half lead over these guys. You cannot squabble this opportunity.
Two things. You actually assume our listeners, our streamers here know who Big Time Rush is?
I show my age.
I'm showing my age too. I had to get that off. I'm sorry, man. I had to.
But listen, matter of fact, but really quickly, the matter of fact, let's stay in this Eagles-Cowboys arena real quick. I got a question for you. What's your game plan entering that game? I want you to tell me your game plan, and then I'll tell you mine, and then maybe we'll meet in the middle, or maybe we have the exact same mindset when it comes to this game. How do you win the game against the Dallas Cowboys? You're the head coach. What's your game plan going into this game, Jeff?
How do you stop a blitzing team, Tone? What's the best way to do it?
Run the ball.
Yep, run the ball, and your bread and butter. Get your offensive lineman to push forward. I mean, I don't know if Jordan Mailata is going to play Sunday. I'm assuming he is. I think that would be very beneficial for the Eagles if he plays Sunday. But I think that's what I would do. I think I would tell Miles Sanders, Boston Scott if he's healthy, Trey Sermon, Kenny Gainwell, guess what, guys? You're getting the rock, and we're going to pound the football down their throats, and we're going to see if they can stop it. And I think early they're going to mix in run and pass, but I think when you get into the nitty-gritty of the game, say when it, is 7-7, 10-7, whatever, in the second quarter, I think that's when you flex your muscle a bit and you wear down that defense and say, hey, we're going to bully ball you, and you're going to have to stop it. We're going to test how good your run defense actually is. I know the Dallas Cowboys can blitz with anybody. I know Micah Parsons is a terror. Same with Dorrance Armstrong. Same with DeMarcus Lawrence. I know Anthony Barr is going to be a problem there. I know what the Cowboys can do. How do you counter that? And then you have them guessing. You can't go into third and longs with this team. You got to shorten the field, as much as you can. If it's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, they're just not as effective.
Yeah. My mindset is wear them down. Wear Micah Parsons down. Just continue to pound those guys. Continue to run the ball, out physical those guys. You just outwill those guys. If I'm me, I'm starting the game with the run play. I was always under the mindset of, your first play of the game should always be a run play because, well, for one, you never know if you can break it, but also it gives you an opportunity to see what the defense is in without taking such a bigger risk. And also you have an opportunity to still get 2, 3, 4 yards, maybe 5 yards. You have an opportunity to get some yards without putting the ball in harm's way so soon. I've always been with the mindset, run the ball first. Lead with that. This Philadelphia Eagles team, I don't want them to get caught up in the minutia of this game. I don't want them to get caught up in the glitz and glam of this game. Don't take the cheese. Stick to your guns. Play your style of football. Be physical, outwill them, run the ball, open things up for play action, and that makes guys like Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, all those guys significantly more dangerous if we open things up with the running game. It's going to be so important for Miles Sanders to do his thing. I want to see more from Trey Sermon. I want to see him be more physical as well. Not saying he hasn't been physical, but he needs more opportunities, if you ask me. And, I'm looking at the chat right now, and all the chat is saying, we need to run the ball. We need to run right at Parsons. We need to let them know that we're going to out-physical those guys. Because if you run the ball regularly and you keep them honest, they're going to wear down. That's what happened in that Cardinals game on the final drive. You saw guys with their hands on their hips, breathing heavy. They couldn't stop the run. And there's nothing more frustrating as a defender when you can't stop the run. You start to be overly aggressive. You start to make mistakes. You start to miss tackles. You wear them down. And then eventually you win the war of attrition.
If you're the Cowboys, you go for this knowing that you're 4-1. And 4-1's, you're 4-1 through 5 weeks. I don't care who you are. I think you're a pretty good team. And the Eagles are 5-0. You're not in first place. If you lose Sunday, all of a sudden you're 4-2. They're 6-0. They got the bye. And they got Pittsburgh. And they got Houston. And they got Washington.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Dallas, you just go, I'll say it, we're on YouTube, balls to the wall. Do you just pull out all the stops knowing that, you know what, if we lose, we're 2 out. And not saying we can't catch them, but it's going to be very, very difficult to catch them. We're going to make life very difficult for them. It's almost going to be like, I hate to put out this, but Eagles could be like the Mets in the NFC East in June. Essentially, you have the 10.5 game. 2-game lead is not 10.5 game lead, but I'm trying to use the metaphor here. You're going to have a commanding lead, and you have a chance to really just take control of this division through 6 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the Philadelphia Eagles have a real shot here to go into the bye unscathed and still have so much to work on, so much to fix. Typically I hate early buys, but I think the way these games have went, I think this team could use a bye just so they can reevaluate the way they've been getting things done, and so they can, go on a long stretch of wins and string those together. And they have a great stretch of games outside of the bye, that are pretty good tune-up games. I'm so glad actually that the Arizona Cardinals game went the way it did. You can make an argument that the 2 toughest games the Philadelphia Eagles have played were their last 2. The Jacksonville Jaguars, where they went down 14, they got tested in terrible conditions and bad weather, and you couldn't really throw the ball. You really couldn't throw the ball, and they still stuck to their guns and ran the ball. They came back and won that game. And then you go in a hostile environment in Arizona, to a stadium that you haven't won at in over a decade, damn near, and you win the game close, but you still win it. Good teams find ways to win games. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, and that's what they were kind of at the end. But regardless, good teams find ways to win those kind of games in a hostile environment. That told me a lot about the Eagles, where they were mentally, how well they're coached. Even I'm sure we can nitpick the game plan about the screens or whatever, but at the end of the day, they were able to pull it together and win the game, and they managed to get back to the basics when it came down to that game-winning drive. That's a championship drive. At the end of that game, you kill about 7 minutes off the clock running the ball, and you dictate the pace of the game with your physicality. That's how the Philadelphia Eagles need to win the game against the Dallas Cowboys. Out physical those guys, and it's all going to come together. The passing lanes are going to open up. You know what I mean? Like, it's no need to feel like you have to get it all in one shot. You know what I mean? Wear those guys down. Slow down. First and foremost, slow down that pass rush, because those guys are going to be pinning their ears back and going balls to the wall, like you said. You have to slow down the pass rush. You have to make Micah Parsons and those guys think a second or two twice before they rush the passer. It's going to be so important for Jalen Hurts to be on his keys. To read. It's going to be so important for him to be able to read the defense properly. It's going to be important for his offensive line to be healthy. You know what I mean?
I got news for Eagles fans. I'm sure they're well aware of this. I mean, the Eagles are the last unbeaten team in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
I remember the last time they were the last unbeaten team in the NFL. And they were 7-0. Mm-hmm. They were going into Pittsburgh. Them in New England. I'm trying to remember who was the undefeated teams. I think it was them in New England. The Eagles beat Baltimore, and that was a tough game. Baltimore gave them everything they could handle, and Pittsburgh beat New England. So the Eagles were the last unbeaten team, and they were getting Pittsburgh the next week. And I remember everybody was on this high. McNabb, Tio, no one's stopping us, no one's stopping. And Pittsburgh took them to the woodshed, absolutely to the woodshed. And everybody started questioning whether the Eagles were a Super Bowl team or not. Could they win the Super Bowl? Is this team good enough? Even though they were 7-1, they lost 27-3. They were never in it, Tone. It was never close. It was 2004. That's why you're going to get the bet. You got the best you could get from the Arizona Cardinals because you're the last unbeaten. And you were able to hold on. I think that's probably the first time they've done that as the last unbeaten team in about 40 years. Because I think the last time they were the last unbeaten team was maybe 81. Again, I would have to look that up. But you're going to get tested every single week. The Cowboys are going to give you their best regardless. But there's that extra incentive. They're the last unbeaten. They're the first place team. I don't care how bad the Steelers are. You're going to get it. Same with the Texans. If you just keep with. And I think this is good for them. I do, because I think when you have that mantra, you're the last unbeaten. You're the team everybody is circling on their calendar. It is going to test you for the playoffs, for the nitty-gritty of December, January. You're going to get everybody's best shot. And I think that's why Jalen Hurts doesn't care about 5-0. I think this is why they're trying to stay grounded. I think Arizona told them, look, we know we're a better team, but we can't take our foot off the gas pedal here. We can't put on the brakes. No, because teams are going to keep coming. The Dallas Cowboys aren't going to stop because the Philadelphia Eagles take a 2-touchdown lead. They're just not going to. They're going to keep pounding. These teams want this. They want to say they beat the last unbeaten. You're going to get their best shot. And I think
every single week, yeah.
Yep, every single week. And I think that for a young Eagles team that's, let's be honest yet, I don't think they've hit their full stride.
I agree with you 150%, Jeff. And that's not even a real possibility, 150%. But I agree. I agree with you 100%, man, because you still see this Philadelphia Eagles team figuring it out. Like we're right. It's so beautiful. We're actively seeing them figure it out. There are moments where they lack execution and they still find a way to outplay those mistakes. And they've yet to play a complete game of football. There's so much meat left on the bones. There's so much food left on the table. There's so much money left on the table. They have a legit opportunity, and I'm paying attention to certain guys, right? That's why Jalen Hurts, the way he approaches the game, the way he approaches his preparation and his mindset and the way he conducts himself, the press conferences and just overall as a teammate, you cannot understate that. His mentality, the way he carries himself, the way he delivers his message to the media, he's not just talking to the media directly. He's talking to his team. He's letting guys know, look, okay, it's okay to do the 5, and it's okay to be okay. It's 5-0. All right, you got it. You can celebrate right now, but 24 hours later, I don't want to hear nothing else about it, because at the end of the day, we trying to go 1-0 every week. This is not the time to get satisfied with just going 5-0. No, you don't win Super Bowls with the best record. You win Super Bowls by getting hot at the right time. You win Super Bowls by beating the opponent into submission. This isn't a time to get complacent. This isn't a time to be satisfied with where you are. You dig what I'm saying? Like, I'm not satisfied with just a division title. I'm not satisfied with just winning a playoff game. I feel like this team, just because of their mentality, their ability to run the ball, the fact that they're able to force turnovers, I think they lead the league in big plays, if I'm not mistaken. If not, maybe they're in the top 5 in that category. They get to the quarterback. They have the offensive line. They have the weapons. They have the corners. There's no reason why this team can't get to an NFC championship. There's no reason why they can't win an NFC championship. Every team in the NFC is severely flawed, more flawed than us, if you ask me. And I just trust Jalen Hurts' mentality in the end. I trust his preparation in the end. We were talking about Carson Wentz earlier, right? It's more than just being able to throw the pill from point A to point B. It's more than just having the arm talent. You need to have the mentality. You need to know how to be a quarterback. You watch Kyler Murray on Sunday, and you watch Jalen Hurts. Those guys approach the position in 2 different ways. You saw a grown man playing for Philadelphia, and you saw a guy that was too emotional making erratic decisions. For Arizona. That's just my mindset when it comes to it. The mentality would get you further sometimes than the talent would.
This is an interesting stat too. I was looking up the last unbeaten team and where they ended up. You know the last unbeaten team to win a Super Bowl? How long do you think it's been?
What was that, like the 70s or something? Like
No. You're going a little too far. This is more our century here, Tone. It is in the 2000s. It's actually the 2006 Colts. They are the last unbeaten team to win a Super Bowl. So it is hard. And I'm glad you brought up the Kyler Murray thing. I kind of wanted to bring back the slide again. So Cliff Kingsbury said that was, as coaches, no matter what he did, he was going to spike the ball. But they thought he got the first down. I think Kyler thought he got the first down. And this is one thing I like about the Eagles. So there are 5 guys basically in Cliff Kingsbury's helmet telling them, clock. Well, that doesn't help the quarterback. And yeah, the quarterback made a boneheaded move. Made 2 boneheaded moves, honestly. But can you fault the guy making boneheaded moves when you got boneheaded coaching staffs that, they can't challenge it. They can't challenge the spot because it's under 2 minutes. Right. And he did give himself up short of the line. He was short. But you basically cost yourself an opportunity to kick a shorter field goal or go in for the touchdown. Because I think they still have plenty of time left. And the way they were moving the ball, I think they could have gotten at the very least, 20 more yards with the time they had left. But obviously they couldn't. They spiked the ball, and Amendola missed a 43-yard field goal, and he's getting blamed. Murray's getting blamed. But in reality, the blame looks like it's on the head coach.
Yeah, that dynamic between Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray, it doesn't feel like it's a long-term marriage to me. Both those guys are entirely too emotional. Like they're a bit too reactive. They're not proactive enough. When something goes wrong for Jalen Hurts, he's the same guy. You don't see the face. You don't see him throwing his arms up in the air. You don't see him pointing at guys, telling what they should have did or shouldn't have did or whatever. He moves on. Next play. It is what it is. Kyler Murray, you see, like I'm watching the game. I see him just huffing and puffing, pointing at guys, blaming, like just being up, just overall, just not being a leader. And like I said, the quarterback position is more than just the talent. You can say all day, Kyler Murray is probably more talented than Jalen Hurts. Okay, I'll give you that. But at the end of the day, who commands the offense better? Who takes the lead better? Who handles themselves better through adversity? You know what I mean? Nick Sirianni, a guy who can wear his heart on the sleeve as well, but he doesn't allow it to influence the way he goes about the game. And, Kyler said something really interesting in the press conference. He said, there were so many people, they were yelling in my ear. Like, how many people are talking to this guy at one time, Jeff? Like that's what I'm trying to figure out because, I'm trying to figure out how do you make such a bonehead mistake? It's one thing to slide too early, okay, whatever, but you spike it. It's just so many things that went wrong in that situation. I think it goes far beyond just Kyler Murray, man. It even goes to Cliff Kingsbury as well, and you have to be grateful for the way Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts go about their business, man. They're one thing I will say, I haven't seen them lose a game because of a mental error.
Yeah, I tell people this: personnel matters, coaching matters. It does. I saw people. I responded to Devin Caney yesterday because Devin got upset. People were saying the Eagles got lucky. First off, I don't believe in that. I never believe in Eagles got lucky. And I know a lot of people like to follow social media and read that stuff. I'm like, you know what? As a Phillies fan, I was told the Phillies got lucky this weekend. How do you get lucky when you win a 3-game series? It's same with football. How do you get lucky? Is it the Eagles' fault Kyler Murray slid early? Is it the Eagles' fault Cliff Kingsbury is not really that great of a head coach? I mean, he got hired as an NFL head coach and had a losing record in college. I mean, I think he's been a lot better than I thought, but I think a lot of that has to do with the personnel, with what Steve Keim's given him with Kyler Murray. But I think, to me, it just – yeah, you're right. How many voices were in this kid's ear? It's probably more than 2. And if they've been practicing clock, Kyler Murray didn't even have time to process, oh, I didn't get the first down. And you should notice this because you got to see the chains moving. If they ain't moving those chains, you didn't get the first down.
Right. So, it's just lack of awareness, in my opinion. Like, you can't – it's just a lack of awareness by all parties involved.
Yeah, and again, this is the difference between the Eagles and the Cardinals, and we might see that Sunday. Everybody's saying what a great job Mike McCarthy's doing. I don't think it's Mike McCarthy. I think it's the guys around him. I think it's Kellen Moore. I think it's Dan Quinn. I think they're the brain trust behind the Cowboys' success. And then you got the personnel. I think Mike McCarthy is more of a delegator at this point.
Yeah, and that's okay. That's okay. It's nothing wrong with that.
Sirianni's doing
it. Yeah. And I don't mind CEO coaches. You know what I mean? I just hate when coaches feel like they need to do everything. You know what I'm saying? I like my coach that's able to walk around the sidelines, make sure he's constantly checking the temperature of his players, handling everything situationally, making sure he got his eye on the clock and the eyes on, the chains, all that kind of stuff. I like that kind of stuff, man. But overall, I think the Philadelphia Eagles have a very strong chance winning this game this week, mainly because there's so much instability within that Cowboys organization at the quarterback position. And I just don't think Cooper Rush is someone that I'm afraid of. I feel like he's a statue. I feel like if you get to him early and often, that clock will speed up. He hasn't really been touched, that much. I think that changes this week. But we have a few minutes left in the show, Jeff. I want to get your final thoughts, on the Cowboys, Eagles, for today. We're going to break this down as the week, continues to go on. But I want to get your final thoughts on everything we discussed today.
Tone, the bottom line is, I do think the Eagles win too. I know it's Tuesday, right? I take Dallas a heck of a lot more seriously than any Eagles fan. I think Dallas is a good team, and I think you can't sleep on them. But you cannot let this defensive line take over the football game. You can't and look, Dallas got quality wins here. They beat the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't want to hear what the Bengals record is. They still went to the Super Bowl last year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear what the Rams record is. They still went to the Super Bowl last year. I did not think in the wildest dreams the Dallas Cowboys would be 4-1 going into this game. But they are. And they beat a 4-1 Giants team. Say what you will about them. They're 4-1. They beat Washington. They beat, in my opinion, they beat the last 3 teams they've faced to a pulp. And because of their defensive line, because they're getting into the quarterback. Jalen Hurts is a little different than the last 3 quarterbacks they faced, but the story is still the same. They're going to blitz him. And Jalen Hurts, I think, I got to look at his quarterback rating versus split. It was solid against Arizona. I think it was in the 80s. And look, I still think that's part of his game he needs to improve on. But we also got to count the running effect in there, too.
Yeah. And he completed 72% of his passes, by the way.
Exactly. He played really well in zone coverage also. So you can't beat him in zone coverage right now. I think he still has the number 1 passer rating in zone coverage in the NFL. So to me, it's going to take a Micah Parsons type difference maker, which they have, to stop Jalen Hurts. This is why I'm so hell-bent on A, running the football, and B, keep it simple, stupid.
Hey, man, straight like that. We appreciate you guys, as always, for locking in on Good Morning NFC East with Jeff Kerr. You guys, make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you guys continue to stay engaged in the live chat, especially if you're watching this after the fact. Make sure you guys comment below. We love to hear you guys' thoughts. What's your thoughts on this Eagles-Cowboys matchup? What's your thoughts on Carson Wentz potentially being benched? Are the Cowboys a true threat? Who do you guys would rather play, Cooper Rush or Dak Prescott? So many narratives to discuss. But we appreciate you guys always for locking in on the content. Make sure you guys are subscribed to JAKIB Sports. Make sure you guys check out all of our other content on jakibsports.com. You guys were locked in on Good Morning NFC East with Jeff Kerr. I'm your humble host, Tone DeShields II. One love, stay humble. Yep, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, yeah. Tomorrow. We got Kevin Boiler on the show. And
Kevin Boiler, the good friend of the show.
Yep. He's going to bring it. The Giants, they're 4-1. They got a big game against the Ravens. So stay humble, guys. Have a good day.
Definitely. Take care, you guys.